Welcome back, everyone. I'm the Prestigio, and this is Langrisser Mobile Apex Season 10. Alright, not much else, not much to talk about as far as updates for the box. Really, the only significant one is Hilda is now using her exclusive armor, which means she no longer has that % chance of reducing damage anymore, but she now doesn't have to worry about skill point limits whenever picking skills. Besides that, our opponent is all rush. Like, literally, it's all rush. There are characters that provide teleports themselves, have extra move agains. We have multiple characters with sprint or mass attack, or provide a talent that provides additional mobility. We have Varna that can actually provide additional AoE. It's essentially a mixture. It's mostly AoE, but there's definitely potential for single target strikes as well. I went ahead and banned Wedham immediately because I can't risk him being on the field. And there's also the high possibility they're just going to ban my Rosalia first. And sure enough, they banned my Rosalia first. Alright, so went straight for Clotaire as an opener. So one thing to note is there's not really much in the form of faction buffs. Literally all their buffing is going to be for just attack, either from like I mentioned before, sprint, mass attack, or chivalry. So at this point I was like, get rid of Ares, get rid of one of their enablers. I had one healer left, so I grabbed Sissy White. They start going after my long legs. They grab Michelle. I think this is our first match against a Michelle. In fact, this is probably the first box where I've actually seen a Michelle, besides my own. So at this point, I was definitely torn on who to ban. There are a lot of options. I did not want to deal with the self-res, so I needed to get rid of Lucretia. In hindsight, I should not have banned Letitia. I should have banned Werner Dime first. I completely forgot Werner Dime actually has sprint. I knew he had a passive talent where he buffs up people's mobility, but the big difference between Werner Dime and Letitia, besides the fact that Werner Dime has better stats and he's SSR, is his talent actually not only does it improve mobility, it also, at least I think it improves mobility, but one thing it definitely does is it allows you to negate terrain. Ignore terrain tiles, which gives additional mobility. So in hindsight, I should have gotten rid of Werner Dime and let them have Letitia instead. So at this point, I also had a lot of options as far as what to deal with. They have one tank, but obviously the point of this tank is not even to tank, but just to teleport in and be annoying. There is a number of units that were flyers or could have flying troops. So I was like, well, you know what? To counter their mobility, I might as well bring some of my own mobility, so I brought in Narm. Not only is she high mobility on herself and she is an archer, she also has access to sprint. They get rid of my Akaya, which is a bit redundant. They also got rid of their Helena. I probably should have considered grabbing Helena, but it's alright. So they grabbed their Werner Dime at this point. So yeah, if I had forced them to pick Letitia, this match probably would have been a lot less painful. At this point, I was like, I'm not going to let you have a tank, and I wanted to completely nullify any additional AoE damage or buffing. This is also because, like I said, I forgot that Werner Dime has access to sprint. So got rid of Varna and Juggler. Went ahead and grabbed Lucretia here. She's long range, she has a self-res. She also has access to mass attack if I need it. The big issue with mass attack and sprint and all those is they only have a 2-turn duration for their buffs. So at this point they get rid of my tank. I definitely was considering grabbing a tank, but I was like, most of these attacks are going to be physical or AoE. So I technically have a tank with good old Jim there from Sissy White. So yeah, they banned one of my enablers. At this point it doesn't really matter. I don't have the only person that could be enabled would be Lucretia at this point, and then got rid of Hilda. They grabbed their Helena, which is definitely dangerous. So at this point, I got rid of Moo. I did not want her. I did not want to deal with her global teleporting shenanigans. Ledin, I definitely consider more dangerous. He he definitely has higher mobility, and he has AoE, and his AoE can dispel buffs and do additional fixed damage. So that leaves just Patseer and Epsilon. Epsilon doesn't have AoE, he's just pure single target. He is a bit annoying because he can stealth, and he can, once he gets a kill, he gets a bubble. Patseer I was less worried about because obviously majority of my team, well, my entire team is female, so she doesn't get most of her, she misses out on a lot of her benefits. That being said, her 3C AoE fixed damage is actually really painful. In any case, I grab Alicia. I know some people have been commenting they've been looking forward to seeing like Sylvaria and Alicia in action, so they grab Patseer. They banned some of my remaining assassins. At this point I had 4 assassins left, so it didn't really matter. And I had a choice between Pyrotes or Sylvaria. And as you can see from this icon up here, the choice is obvious. I grabbed Sylvaria. So yeah, this will be this is my second match ever using Sylvaria. I have been using Sylvaria in PvE. I actually used her in a number of the recent story chapters that got unlocked. She's actually pretty amusing with her, 9 range nonsense. This is my first match using Alicia at all. So yeah, a lot of things to go through here. So first, let's go ahead and go over our opponents. We got Helena here, got Angels, which really actually makes her more vulnerable since I have majority archers here. Warner Dime has kind of the standard kit here, but yeah, his passive, yeah, he gets additional mobility and Gorilla, which makes it so they gain 1 opportunity to avoid mobility reduction, which essentially translates that these tiles here actually give them more movement, which is really annoying. Clotaire is standard kit, Sand-Sea Mercenaries, and then of course his triple wombo combo there. Patseer here got Sorceresses with Faded Curse. The rest of it doesn't really matter. Lucid Dream is completely worthless here. It's literally just a 1. She should have just grabbed a different skill. And then Kiss of the Succubus is also useless because again, I'm not using. I don't have any non-female heroes besides Arcane Golem, and of course, if I summon Gem, it'll be Gem. Standard Michelle here. Actually, this is not a standard Michelle. She's using Phalanxes instead of. Was it City Troopers or whatever they're called? Also, she's using the 5 range line attack that does displacement. There's another one that does, I think it's 6 blocks. That has cooldown reduction if you hit more than 1 target. But yeah, so she's using that version. And as for us, Lucretia, I dropped her Reaper for mass attack. Alicia is, I guess, one thing. She's 5 stars. She has an attack increase, and when she passes through units or their surrounding 1 block, she has a chance of reducing her mobility, or getting. She mitigates mobility reduction by up to 3 blocks. So, for example, as you can see here, she has 3 movements, so she should only be able to go to here. But since she can ignore mobility as she's running through people, like these tiles here, she actually gets additional mobility all the way up to there, which is kind of neat. Also, if she, for every 1 enemy she passes through, by the way, she can walk through enemies, much like Helena. It makes it so any AoE skills or before entering battle, she gets a damage dealt buff and damage taken, reduced damage taken. That can be stackable up to 2 times. It only lasts for 1 turn though. And then that effect can only happen once every 3 turns. As for what she has, it's all unique skills. She has Righteous March, which makes it so she dispels a debuff from herself and heals for 50%, and then she moves 2 spaces. The key thing here is it can only be used 3 times, after which it becomes a dead skill, where you literally can't use it again. Azur's thing is her 3C, it's 1.6 times damage, ignores melee damage penalty if she happens to be in melee. Before battle she heals to 100%, and she dispels 5 buffs from the enemy. And she reduces their enemy's defense by 30%. And then that lasts for 2 turns, can't be dispelled, and then after battle she'll do additional AoE damage to, within a 4 block line in front of her. So yeah, she's, as an archer, she's actually a potential tank buster. She does quite a bit of damage. And then she has Gunfire Barrage, which is her kind of her single target. It has high crit chance, can only be used 3 times, but afterwards it becomes a reload skill, which reloads it, and when she reloads, she actually heals, which is kind of neat. This is one of those few single target skills that actually has 0 cooldown, which is the main benefit. The only catch, of course, is if she uses it 3 times, she has to reload. Her archer choices are actually kind of limited, so I went Firebrand Sniper. So the idea with Firebrand Sniper is you do a Xur Sting, do a bunch of damage, then you trigger Firebrand Snipers, fixed damage, then you do your AoE damage, and that for just like triple combo there. Anyway, Sylvaria, this is our first match on video showing her off. She's 6 stars, 30% crit chance and crit damage. Enemies within 5 blocks take fixed damage equal to 1.5 times Sylvaria's attack once if they are at 100% HP after taking action. So essentially 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, pretty much all around her. If anyone stops here, they take fixed damage. She has Sneak, which is whenever she initiates battle, she has an increased crit chance and reduces damage taken. She has Disarm, which is a single target 1.5 times that after dealing damage will reduce enemies' attack range by 1. So if they happen to be melee, they just can't attack at all. And then Might of the Valkyrie, it's a transformation skill. She will restore HP, can't move again, or be teleported. Can't be displaced either, and increases her crit chance by 20%. Her unit range increases by 7 when using skills. And then the closer the enemy is, the less damage dealt after entering battle, up to 35%, and it lasts for 1 turn. After you transform, this becomes Valkyrie Flash, which is a it ignores guard, 1.4 times damage. If the target happens to be at max range, which is 9, the hero will do increased damage, and both sides cannot use their soldiers for attacking and will directly attack heroes. So it's essentially a snipe. And then she's going with Forest Night Elves for her troops. Sissy White, I just went with Mass Heal just to try to counteract Clotaire, because that's the big issue here. And then Narm here is going to Elven Cavalry Archers with Sprint in her 3C. Alright, sorry that was a bit long-winded, but I know not many people see Sylvaria or Alicia in action. Alright, let's dive right in. So right off the bat, opens with Sprint. God, that talent is so loud. Alright, so yeah, additional mobility here, and then so he can only do it on a number of units. He can't do it on everyone. Okay, good to know. So yeah, on Clotaire here, he has the Guerrilla Tactics, which means he can actually ignore this tile here and get additional movement. So he gets all the way to here, and then he can essentially then follow up with his 2 movement, and then another 2 movement, and then blow up everybody. And then you can see Patsier can get all the way up to here. Her range is 6 blocks with Fated Curse. And then, of course, Michelle can go all the way to about here. She can throw out a decoy and then go all the way up to here and then hit about 3 or 5 spaces away. So, very messy. Helena's actually not too dangerous right now. Even with Chivalry, she won't be able to reach anything this round. So at this point I was like, well, I'm going to play it safe. I fell back completely. Now, one thing to note about Sylvaria is if you are going to get set up with your transformation, don't put her in the back line here, because the mist will kill her next round. So yeah, at this point I'm just spreading out. I'm spreading out, getting as far back as possible, summoning Jim, get his physical tank up, or physical guard up, and I'm kind of just spreading out as best as I can. So Might of the Valkyrie. So I wasn't really counting steps at this point. I was just like, I was more just trying to be like an Overwatch for everyone else. If they happen to be in range, great, I'll pop them with something. But actually counting the steps here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's max range here, which means if Michelle stays in place, I can actually hit her directly, do extra hero damage, and ignore her troops. So crazy stuff there. You can also use this Disarm instead. Obviously, you won't get the ignored troop benefits, but if for whatever reason Valkyrie Flash is not working for you, you can always use Disarm instead. Oh, and I guess as far as mobility is concerned, yeah, this is as far as Alicia can go. She can go additional 2 steps to here, but she still can't reach anything. So yeah, here comes Clotaire. So I spread out as best as I could. And his what actually makes him even more dangerous is his move agains don't actually reduce his buff count. So he was able to get the benefit from the guerrilla tactics twice there. So this we need to talk about. Alright, so obviously I got hit with the AoE, does quite a bit of damage. I have reduced healing, I think. Is it reduced healing? No, it's not reduced healing, it's just I take a bunch of extra fixed damage and stuff like that. But I can now actually run through Clotaire, which actually gives me more mobility. So I'm able to take advantage of Narm here. Yeah, I'm able to take advantage of Narm's mobility here, and then go through Clotaire, and go all the way through to here. And then from here I can keep on moving, and take advantage of Patseer. And since I can self-heal thanks to Righteous March, I won't die from the fixed damage. I also can potentially get rid of some nasty level debuffs here. Alright, so yeah, sorry about that. So run through. And then run through here, and I went straight for Helena. She's currently not buffed. She is in her terrain, so she does take reduced damage. But I'm also an archer versus angels. And then Azure Sting's gonna AoE, but there's no one to hit. So I just want to see how close we were for that. So she has about 23,000. And of course I debuffed her defense here. So 23,000. Yeah, definitely more than enough. Okay. Yeah, this was a bit risky here. I was fine with ignoring Clotaire, since Clotaire already used all of his abilities. He could still one-shot somebody. So here's Akira Flash at max range against a Michelle. She is in 30% defense terrain and doesn't matter. So yeah, her HP was... I ignored troops, so it's literally just 12,000 HP, and I did about 19,000. But yeah, you can see how close I cut things here. Narm was mostly okay. Lucretia would have popped to self-res. Actually, she wouldn't even pop to self-res, because Clotaire is actually negating self-res. So yeah, that was actually cutting it pretty close with Patseer there. But in any case, I did not want to risk Michelle moving after Patseer. I know Clotaire could potentially kill somebody with a single target strike, but the only person he can kill is Narm, which I'm actually okay with. So yeah, just to show this off again. So I have Daybreak, the break and eat nonsense there. Yeah, definitely could not have asked for a better result there. So yeah, Lama's hooks. So yeah, I do have Extreme Magic Bow on Alicia, so she actually did pretty good damage. And at this point I was like, well, I'm going to soften you up as best as I can. Some heals from that. Yeah, all that fixed damage, one from Clotaire and one from Patseer. And then I moved in. Almost got it. It was really close. If he wasn't in Forest, it would have been a kill. So yeah, at this point I was like, alright, let's get everyone healed up. Get out of the mist. And then at this point, this was pretty risky. Yeah, I did a trade there. That didn't work. Now the good news is I did take out her, I did silence her. Yeah, I did. Was this? Yeah, silences an enemy, so and passive skills. So yeah, that would have pretty much taken her out for a while. But one thing to note is my opponent doesn't really have heals, besides passive heals. So yeah, Clotair's falling back to get refresh buffs. So I was like, alright, well I can freely get my thing here. Clotair's debuff will wear off at this point, so I can safely take a hit if necessary. But since Werner Dime's been so focused on like just counter-attacking me, he hasn't had a chance to actually buff up his mobility enough to actually take advantage of the guard ignoring. Actually, he doesn't even have enough mobility to even reach me at this point. It's kind of ridiculous. At this point, I did the 3C. Not really, I can't reach anything with her, but I did it just so she can get healed up and get rid of any potential debuffs that remain, because Clotair is going to do his immolation, crystallization, and then he's going to AoE me again. At this point, I was like, alright, well, let's go ahead and get the turret set up. Yeah, so I moved up to here in hopes of trying to mitigate Clotair's AoE, but Clotair actually can go pretty far thanks to the guerrilla tactics. He's able to just literally go pretty much anywhere he wants, as he's going to prove. Yeah, he's able to just reach. So he's going to hit everybody. But the only one that's even remotely in danger is Jim, who unfortunately dies. And at this point, my opponent gave up. I definitely was running out of time as I was trying to figure out what to do next. But at this point, I should have been able to take out Werner Dime. I would have just did a swap with the pet and used Lucretia to deal with Werner Dime there. And then after that, I could just safely deal with Clotair, since Clotair literally had nothing left. Actually, I think what I was setting up to do next was I was going to do area heal first, just to ensure I had HP. But Werner Dime couldn't reach me from where we were at, so that was that. But yeah, good stuff. So yeah, got to show off both Savaria and Alicia for essentially what's going to be the last match for me for this season. There is one more week, but I'm going to be out of town. I will have my phone with me, so I may do a match, but I'm not going to be back until Monday, and I'm probably going to be too busy to actually put together a video, assuming I even get a match done. So for this is probably going to be the last for this season for me. So overall, pretty good. I did hit Gold 3 eventually. Definitely had some growing pains dealing with the AoE box. But it did give me some experience using other characters, as well as just different methods of doing band picks instead of the usual stuff. Switching back to single target was a lot of fun. Obviously, I definitely prefer it over AoE. AoE is just kind of messy for me, and it doesn't really take full advantage of the fact that I have fully trained troops. Usually, you start with AoE and then shift over to single target, because single target is just a little bit more reliable overall. But yeah, I do like this setup here where I only have one tank and 2 healers. I may go up to 3 healers once I bring in Lisa. Yeah, actually, I wasn't sure about Alicia. She's a really good character, but I wasn't sure how well she would fit. But for countering another rush box, it actually worked out pretty well. She's actually decently bulky for an archer. She technically could fight in melee with her 3C and with extreme magic bow and all that good stuff. And she can be very, very deceptively mobile if she has a lot of people to run through. So yeah, really, really cool stuff. Got to show off Narm. I'm pretty happy about doing that, even though all she did was sprint and didn't die. But yeah, I like being able to use something that's a little bit different from the usual meta. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed seeing Sylvaria and Alicia in action. I'm going to go ahead and call it here. I am The Depressed Leroy. This was Langrisser Mobile Apex Season 10. I'll see you guys later.